In today's video, yet another edition of what your money can buy in Toronto real estate. That's right, in this series I show you from across the GTA, when I buy or sell something for a client, what your money can buy in that market, in that given community, and in that neighborhood. That is right, I just recently purchased this townhome and I'm going to give you all the facts with regards to price, and while doing so I give you a property tour and I try to use it as a launching point to give you context on the wider market. So not only will you get to see what the property looks like at what price point, but I provide further context in terms of what it says about the market. As always, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Sam, a Toronto real estate agent actively working with buyers and sellers across the GTA. On this channel, we love to talk about everything Toronto real estate oriented, and this is just one of the series I do. So if you find any of this content enjoyable or informative, feel free to subscribe and follow. Furthermore, you can find my contact information in the description box. Feel free to get in touch with any further questions you may have or any further inquiries. So enough of that, let's actually start with the property tour. Now, one of the very first things that attracted me and my clients to this property, and you have to understand, if you're a buyer, the first thing you see is a picture of the property, right? And the first thing you see when you go visit the property is the exterior and the front entrance of the property. And frankly, for our tastes, for my clients' tastes and my taste, we really like the red brick aesthetic with these vines right here, right? That adds a lot of character to a property, and you might think it's insignificant. I have a lot of buyers, a lot of clients who wouldn't even care about this type of stuff. They're very much so about the numbers, the facts, and the quantitative. But in this case, this does matter. This does add to resale value, believe it or not. That's the first thing that really drew out and really attracted my clients and myself to this property and gave us the prospect to see it. Now, the neighborhood is very family friendly and convenient. Although it is in Newmarket, once again, right, Newmarket is one of the northernmost regions of York region, above Aurora and Richmond Hill. It is central in terms of east-west, right? It's quite close to Bayview and it's very close to Yonge Street. And it's near almost anything you want. Walking paths, parks with tennis courts, basketball courts, and playgrounds, and a couple of plazas with, gyms such as LA Fitness and Longos and all the amenities you would probably need. Now, the particular community here we're talking about, I would probably have to rank as top 3 or top 4 in Newmarket. Of course, that type of distinction comes down to a street by street basis. Some streets in some, average communities are better than some streets in better communities. But all in all, as I said previously, I would probably have to say this is one of the better communities in Newmarket. Now, the key point of emphasis here is that this is a freehold townhome. So initially, when we started looking with my clients, we were at first considering some condo townhomes, particularly of the stacked variety. Now, as you guys know from my channel, I am not a big fan of stacked condos at all. Some condo townhomes can be good as long as they're not stacked, but even, when you look at condo townhomes versus freehold townhomes, time and time again, I think freehold townhomes, although more expensive, of course, are more quality. Townhouse property for $965,000 in Newmarket, 3 bedrooms, 3+1 to be exact, and 3 washrooms, 2.5 to be exact. Now, the property is modest in size, but I would say it's laid out decently well. So this right here where I'm currently standing and where the cameraman is now standing again is the living area. So when this property was first furnished, and of course you're seeing it in an empty state because the previous owners have already moved out. So you might find some stuff here, some stuff there. There are still some items laying around. Nonetheless though, as I was saying, where we're currently standing is the living room, right? So when this was furnished, there was a TV here, a couch here, and the living area. And then as we walk back a bit further, right, where you see these chandeliers, of course, this was where the dining table was, with the dining chairs and overall the dining set. So once again, not a huge townhome, right? You might find some condo townhomes that are bigger in square footage, but they're actually going to be 3-story in nature, most of them, right, nowadays. Whereas this is 2-story, but the layout is more functional. Size and functionality are not the same thing. Obviously, the ideal is you have something big that's also functional. However, at times, smaller properties in terms of pure square footage can be more functional as opposed to larger properties in terms of square footage. Once again, using a condo townhome that's 3-story as an example, but 3-story condo townhomes do lack the functionality. And as we transition from going through the dining, right, then we can see the kitchen here, right? And as you can see from the kitchen, right, once again, it's on the smaller side, it's a modest sized kitchen. But you have to understand, for these type of buyers, this type of size was sufficient, right? It's not as if this is a forever home. Nonetheless, the kitchen came with a pretty large stainless steel fridge, as you can see, 2 sinks and a stovetop. Now, at the time of buying this property, we managed to get a pretty good price on the property because the market was starting to cool down. We purchased this property in June of 2023. At the time of recording of this video, it is July 26, 2023. And you have to understand, we purchased this property around the time where the Bank of Canada made their June announcement with regards to the hiking of interest rates. This was the first announcement with regards to interest rates after the previous 2 announcements where they held steady and continued their policy on a conditional pause. See, in May and April, the market was scorching hot, whether we're talking about condos, the one I sold, for instance, or a detached property, a bungalow that I sold around the same time that will be featured as the next edition of this series. So I'm saying this all to say that I'm not purely talking about the numbers. I am also speaking from experience. I was on the selling side in April and May. The market was hot. Well, when we purchased this property in June of 2023, it was a substantially different market. When I was looking at the comps for this property type, there were a couple of comps that were lower in price, but they had their own attributes in terms of being older with regards to the interior. But most of the comps, most of the sales that were happening in May and April, and obviously there's no question about it, going all the way back to spring of 2022, freehold townhomes like this property were selling for much higher in May and April. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we timed the market perfectly by any means, because once again, as of recording of this video, July of 2023, we would have probably been able to purchase this property at a lower price than we even did in June of 2023. However, as a side note, when you are an end user or most buyers, if you're chasing the market to time it perfectly, oftentimes it's gonna backfire completely. All you can do is do the best at the time you're looking to buy with the conditions and facts in front of you. Nonetheless though, in June, we were able to buy for much cheaper than we would have been able to buy in April and May, and unfortunately, many people bought at much higher prices. Furthermore, one other wrinkle that also allowed me to push for a better price and a conditional deal, by the way, because that's also key. Being able to purchase a property conditional upon all the protections. It's not just about price, but protections you're offered in terms of inspection, in terms of legal due diligence, in terms of financing. So another fact that also helped me to push for a conditional purchase at a lower price was also that this was a symptom of a failed bidding war. The list price was below market value. They didn't get any offers on offer nights. And in conjunction with the market conditions at the time, it allowed me and my clients to get a pretty proper deal, I would say. So enough of me talking, and we already saw the main floor. Let's go see upstairs. Come on. Modern townhomes, even freehold townhomes, are not built with this. What am I talking about? So as we come upstairs in this property, to the left side, you'll have this space, this area, which is the extension of a living room. You can think of it as a second family room. And that's how it was used previously. This type of layout is far more common with homes, even townhomes, even detached and semi-detached, but in this case, obviously townhomes, built in the late 80s and early 90s. And that's when this property was built, in the early 90s. So there is a lot of flexibility with what type of use you can make of this space. You can have it, once again, as the second living room, or maybe the TV room, or perhaps a study or a library or an office. But when we first saw this, I found this very interesting and intriguing. And to be, completely transparent, as I always strive to do in this series, whether I'm showing you something I've purchased or whether I'm showing you something I've sold, I give you all the facts and my honest opinion. And as I told my buyers at the time, this type of layout where the staircase goes up and it splits into 2 mini staircases, if you were to take a quick shot of that, cameraman, this type of layout is very uncommon nowadays. And in a moderate market, if this property to be listed to sell again, this type of layout would not be the cup of tea of some buyers. And that is something I did express to my clients. Nonetheless, though, of course, in a hot market or even a moderately warm market, that type of thing doesn't really matter. All right, now we're on the other side of the split staircase, and please come through. You'll here find the 3 bedrooms, right? So that is the +1, as I said earlier, 3+1. The basement is unfinished, so it's just concrete floor. However, if we come through, you're looking at the primary here, right? So this is the primary bedroom with an ensuite washroom. And as you will see from the footage of the washrooms, this ensuite and the other washroom, the washrooms are immaculately done. The best materials were used for the washroom. Sure, they're not up to the modern aesthetic, but in terms of quality, it's unquestionably great. And then we have the other 2 bedrooms, right? They're smaller in size, right? Previously, with the previous owner, these were used as kids' bedrooms, right? So we have the 2nd bedroom here, right? And then lastly, we have the 3rd bedroom. And these built-in shelves were actually, once again, another positive attribute because it provides a decent amount of storage space, right? Especially for young families or, first-time home buyers. Anyways, guys, we're running out of storage on the camera, but it's a good time to end things anyways. This was yet another edition of What Your Money Can Buy within the city of Toronto. Of course, here it was Newmarket, not literally Toronto, right? But you get what I'm saying, the greater Toronto area. Thank you very much for watching. If you find this type of content informative or enjoyable, there's a lot more coming out, a lot more properties that I've sold or purchased that we're gonna film for property tours for What Your Money Can Buy, and a lot of other type of content. So if you enjoyed this video, follow and subscribe, or feel free to get in touch with any further questions or inquiries. Thank you very much. Stay safe and stay tuned.